Well, welcome, Bob. We are very excited to have you here with us today for the More Money, Time, and Fun Summit.
Hello, Tiffany. Great to be with you.
So we're going to jump right in. So our goal, our vision is money, time, and fun. So I'm wondering, how can we have more money, more time, and more fun? Do you have a tip you can share with us on how we could have more money?
Well, I think when we look at all three of those, they work harmoniously. And if we're doing something that we absolutely love to do and we are good at it, and typically the two tend to be the same. Not always, but typically if we really love something, we usually have at least the ability to develop that skill. So if we take what we love and what we're good at, and we also have a market for it, then that gives us that context to be able to have a lot more fun while we're making a lot more money. Time in this case may not, at least at first, be in play. We need to be willing to do those things, especially if we're an entrepreneur. And typically, if you're going to do what you love, you're probably an entrepreneur. Not always, but usually. And so for a while, you might not have that time until you're able to scale. And then, you can start duplicating yourself a little bit. But I would say if you're going to have those three in mind, that's where you'd want to go. That's the general direction.
I like it. And what would be the first step or two to help us getting there?
Well, the first thing is, if there's something you want to do, find out how to do it by discovering who has done it already and what they have documented. I call it seeking out the information or finding the system. What is a system? Well, by definition, at least my definition, it's the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and specific set of how-to principles, the key being predictability. If it's been proven that by doing A, you'll get the desired result of B, then you know that all you need to do is A and continue to do A, and eventually you'll have the desired result of B. So it really starts with that.
It sounds like that predictability in that system is so important.
It really is. Yeah.
Now, I know you have a system. It was probably mid 2000s. I'm not sure exactly when I first read your book, The Go-Giver. We had it at one of our BNI conferences. Tom Fleming was like, all right, let's talk about the Go-Giver. And so I read that book, and that to me is a system that really does help increase that opportunity for us to grow our business, to create those referrals coming in by giving the Go-Givers. Can you tell us a little bit about what the Go-Giver is all about?
Sure. And of course, Dr. Meisner developed a wonderful system that, on how to not only belong to a group, but a referral-based group, but how to work within that group in order to develop those know, like, and trust relationships. And of course, his trademark term, giver's gain, has really, in a sense, set a frame for all business networking and business development over the last 30 years. So that's a system, right there. With the Go-Giver, we talk about five principles, or we call them the 5 laws of stratospheric success, but they're basically just principles that people have always used, whether intuitively or purposefully, in order to become successful. And those are the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. And the basic premise of it all is that when you shift your focus off of yourself and on to serving others, discovering what they need, what they want, what they desire. When you can take your focus off yourself and place it on solving others or helping others to solve their problems and challenges, when you can move your focus off yourself and place it on helping move people closer to happiness, well, people feel good about you. They feel great about you. They know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to see you succeed. They want to do business with you. They certainly want to refer you or tell others about you. They want to be your personal walking ambassador. So, whether you take Dr. Ivan's Giver's Gain, or you talk the Go-Giver philosophy, or Zig Ziglar's You Can Have Everything in Life You Want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want, the principle is the same. There's nothing magical or mystical about it. It's really understanding human nature and knowing that when you operate that way, not only is it a more pleasant way of doing business, it's a more fulfilling way of doing business. It also happens to be the most financially profitable way as well.
Can you share a little bit why it's the most financially profitable way to do business?
Well, so one of the things, I say, Tiffany, whenever I speak at sales conferences, is I'll begin by saying, and there might be hundreds, if not thousands, of whether corporate salespeople or direct salespeople or real estate, whatever it happens, it doesn't matter because it's all principle based, right? I'll often say nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. Okay, they're not going to buy from you because you need the money, and they're not even going to buy from you just because you're a really nice person. They're going to buy from you only because they believe that they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so. That's human nature. And that's the only reason, by the way, why anyone should buy from you or from me or from anyone else, because they feel they will benefit by doing so. Why else would they buy? Right? But this is great news for the entrepreneur or salesperson who truly has a heart for service, for serving others, right? Because this is what they do. This is who they are. But this is also why John David Mann and I say that money is simply an echo of value. Okay, money is simply an echo of value. It's the thunder, if you will, to value's lightning, which means nothing more than understanding the value must be your focus. The value you're providing another person, it's got to be your focus, because again, that's what they care about, right? The money you receive is simply a natural result of the value you've provided.
So I know you talk about value, so let's go back to the value. So please tell us about the Go-Givers.
Yeah, and it's a great question, because these days technology has really leveled off the playing field. Products and services tend to work. They work pretty well, and they tend to, cost the same amount of money. And so how do you distinguish yourself? And you don't want it to be by low price, right? Because that's trying to make, unless your last name is Walmart or Amazon.com, trying to make low price your unique selling proposition is not a productive way to do business. It's not fulfilling, it's not profitable, and it's certainly not sustainable. When you sell on low price, you're a commodity. When you sell on high value, you're a resource. Okay, so how do you separate yourself? Well, the short answer, Tiffany, is that you become that additional value. They are going to buy you before they buy your product or service, before they buy your company. They're buying you. So how then do you distinguish yourself? Now, the great news is that there are hundreds of ways to communicate that additional value, but they tend to come down to 5 what we call elements of value. And those elements of value are excellence, consistency, attention, empathy, and appreciation. None of those cost money. They cost.
It's always nice when it doesn't cost money.
Okay. And so, and to the degree that you can communicate one or more, hopefully all 5 of those elements of value at every touch point from that initial meeting, whether it's through inbound or outbound, or you meet someone in person or wherever it happens to be, through the follow-up and follow through, the relationship building process, the sales process, the referral process. To the degree you can do that, that is the degree you separate yourself and you take price and competition out of the issue.
I love it. And I love that you're not just like, oh, customer service, because too often people say what sets me apart is customer service. And that doesn't really mean much.
Of course, it doesn't set them apart because everybody says that.
Right, right.
That's
So
what actually makes you the same.
So let's say I'm meeting somebody for the first time at a networking event that I think might need my product or service. What is 1 or 2 of those aspects? Some tangible examples you can give us on how we can really stand out.
Well, so the first thing I would do is I would focus 99.9% of the conversation on them. Okay, because right now at this particular point, okay, they are just not interested in you and your products or services. Even if they can need them, they're not listening, not right now. Okay, they're there like pretty much everybody else is there, and that is they're trying to find new business and they're trying to find someone who wants to buy their hat, and they expect everyone to try to sell them their hat and so forth. So separate, distinguish yourself, be of value right away by focusing on them. One thing, when I first got into sales and I was doing a lot of telephone prospecting and telephone, I would prospect, I was building relationships on the phone, I was completing sales on the phone. I mean, but here's one thing, and I bring this up only to say that one thing I learned very quickly, Tiffanie, was this: nobody ever hung up the phone on me while they were talking. Amazing discovery. If I'm talking about myself and my products and services, they're not interested. They want off the phone. If they're talking about themselves, they are engaged, right? And so we can do this here during the first conversation. I have what I call my feel-good questions. I have 10 of them in my arsenal, but you'll never have time to ask any more than a couple of them during any one conversation. And the first one, and this is when you've both exchanged what you do. So this person, Gary, sells copying machines to businesses, and it doesn't matter when he asks you what you do. Don't give him an elevator speech. Don't even give him a benefit statement. It's just, I'm an investment advisor with so-and-so investments, or I'm a realtor with so-and-so, or whatever, because he doesn't care right now. Okay. And you're going to just ask about him, so the first feel-good questions are simply questions which by their very nature make this person feel good about themselves, about the situation, and about you. They're not salesy, prospecting, they're not intrusive, they're not invasive. They just very quickly establish a wonderful rapport. So first feel-good question is, how did you get started selling copying machines? Or a little bit more gracious way is, how did you get your start as an office products professional? Okay, it's a little more edifying. Okay, and so people, and this is not a clever question, not a slick question. In fact, it's pretty mundane, isn't it? How did you get started in the so-and-so business? But people love answering that question. Why? Because you're doing something for them that no one else does. You're making them the star. You're asking them to share their story. You're letting them know you find them to be of value and important, and you want to hear about them, right? And they're going to enjoy sharing that with you. Now, the next question, sort of a follow-up to that, and that is, what do you enjoy most about what you do? So it might sound more like, wow, you must have had some fascinating experiences, Gary. Tell me, what do you enjoy most about your work? Now, this flies in the face of so much traditional sales teaching, where we're supposed to immediately find their pain, right? Reach into their heart and tear it out so we can come to the rescue with our terrific products and services. But they're not ready for that yet. Again, there's no relationship built, and there's no, and so what we want to do is, rather than right now find their pain, but they may not even be a potential customer for us. They might be a great referral source. So why would we want to right away make them feel badly about themselves? No, we want them feeling good about themselves and associating that with us. So instead of finding their pain, find their joy. What do you enjoy most about what you do? This is so much better than the opposite, saying, so Gary, tell me, what do you just hate most about your work, right? And
what a way to have a great conversation.
While we're at it, how about this wretched excuse for a life you live, right? It's like, that's not feel good. That's not a way, right? Now, you've asked a couple of these questions. And it's only been a few minutes, and already a nice kind of rapport is being, really set up and established. Now it's time to ask what I call the one key question that will distinguish you from the rest. This is not one of the feel-good questions. This is its own separate question to be asked only after the initial rapport has begun to be established. And it sounds something like this. Gary, how can I know if someone I'm speaking with is a good prospective client for you? Okay. Mary, that's fascinating what you do. Tell me, how can I know if someone I'm speaking with would be a good client? for you. Now, a good way to, by the way, frame that is to say, David, I always love connecting good people with other good people. Tell me, how can I know if someone I'm speaking with is a good prospective customer for you, right? And you've just, in those first few minutes right away, you have just absolutely distinguished yourself and separated yourself from someone else. Now, first, the chances are pretty good they're going to want to know more about you at this point, but even if not, it doesn't matter. You're going to make sure to get their business card, their contact information, and you're going to follow up with a nice handwritten note card that simply says, "Hi, Gary," or "Dear Ann," or "Hi, Mr. Malashevsky," or "Ms. Jones," however the relationship's been established. "Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you. If I can ever refer business your way, I certainly will. Best regards, Bob." Use your own name, but you know what I mean. And then put it in a number 10 envelope, handwrite it, hand stamp it, send it out. They get it the next day. Wow, what does it tell them? That this person not only, just made me feel so good about myself and they were interested in me and this, but they follow it up with this personalized handwritten note card. Wow, they must be great at what they do, right? Because how you do anything is how you do everything. And that's how, right? So again, this is just the initial, part of the system, but this right there gets you off to a start that puts you 9 steps ahead of the game in a 10-step game.
Yeah, it is interesting how little the handwritten notes are used nowadays. And how important do you think it is that it is a handwritten note and not a follow-up email or text?
Well, it's not an either or, it's an and.
Okay.
But I think that first, follow up handwritten note is gold. And then of course there are other tools. There's send out cards, which is a wonderful way of being able to follow up and follow through with people and make it very personal and be able to, it's wonderful. Email and text and social media, all those things you're going to utilize. It's not an either or, it's an and. It's all part of the process. But there's nothing like a personalized handwritten note that really just says that this person, they cared, they took the time, they made the effort, they did something that most people just don't do. And that's the kind of person I would want to do business with and would be very comfortable referring to others.
Excellent. I do love all that you're sharing with us on this ideal, the go-giver, and how can we stand out by offering to others and not being all about me. It's about them first and developing the relationships. Now, I do want to ask, because we're all about more money, more time, more fun here at the summit. So what do you like to do for fun?
I'm a pretty avid reader. I really love to read. That's pretty much my favorite thing. I have a couple TV shows I really like. Reruns of Law and Order. I love, and when they're running, reruns of Monk, that's another of my favorite shows. But there's not a whole lot of them, so I don't watch a lot of TV. But and then during baseball season, I tend to watch a few innings of the Marlins every night and so forth. But that's about it. I really, I just, I love my life, but I've got to say that looking out from the outside in, most people would probably think it's pretty boring. But personally, it works great for me.
Well, I'm going to go to my husband and be like, "Hey, honey," because people say, "What do I like to do for fun?" And I'm an avid reader. I love to do that. He's like, "That doesn't count as fun." I'm like, "Yes, it does." Now I've got backup. What are you currently reading?
Let's see. I just got through reading my friend Joe Polish's book, "What's in It for Them." Joe is a great guy, one of the world's all-time great direct response marketers, and this is a wonderful, wonderful book. Let's see. I'm halfway through a book that's not written yet. This is just the galley copy, the hardcover galley copy from another friend of mine. He's a martial artist by the name of Tony Anisi, who's just an absolutely brilliant writer. And I probably have two. And I'm reading I'm halfway through Michael Singer's third book, which is Living Untethered. So I've got those. I just finished one, in the middle of another, and in the middle of another, and then there'll be another one that I start very simple.
I totally get you. Yeah, love to read. So
And I
you
can't recommend Michael Singer's books enough, whether it's The Untethered Soul, The Surrender Experiment, and his latest one, Living Untethered. I think might be one of the most important books I've ever read in my life.
Oh, wow. I will definitely have to check that one out. So
Yeah.
I know one thing that I heard you talk about before, and I just love this conversation. And being that we're here and one of our conversations is around more time,
Right.
sometimes people share with me they have a problem saying no. And I know that you have a very easy and nice way that you encourage people to use the word no. Can you share that with us, please?
Yeah, and I think having trouble saying no is very human, especially for people who, who feel they are givers and want to help others and want to add value. And there's nothing wrong with that. What the only thing that ends up being wrong is when you say no, you say yes out of weakness instead of out of strength. And that's when it's not productive. That's when it's counterproductive. So people ask us to do things all the time, and especially, as you know, the more successful you get, the more people want things of you. They want you to do things, and while you'd like to help everybody, there simply is not enough time, energy, what have you, to do it. Okay, so you've got to be able to say no in a way that works, but I think it's important to say no in a way that not only respects your boundaries, it respects their humanity and is kind and diplomatic and tactful. So I've often heard, a couple of ways I've heard people do it that I don't think is productive. One is when people say, no is a complete sentence. I hear that all the time. And when I see people say it at seminars, I see audience members nodding their heads in empowerment, like, yeah, I'm just going to say no. Is that really what you're going to do? Somebody asks you to do something. It's not an outlandish request. I think just saying no is not a complete sentence. It's a rude sentence. It's impolite. You're going to close yourself off from that person, probably asking you to do anything else, and you might want to keep those doors open. And it's not. And the most important thing is just saying no like that is not in alignment with your value system of treating people with respect. So I get what the people saying that, what they're saying it's okay to say no. I agree with that 100%, but no is not a complete sentence, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of just no, period.
Right. And then there's when people say, well, just tell a slight fib, like I don't have time. Well, the problem with that is kind of twofold. One is, it's not that you don't have time. It's that you don't place value in doing that thing that you're being asked to do more than you value not doing it. And that's okay. Again, it's just, but to say I don't have time isn't, but here's the thing. That person's probably used to someone saying that to them. So they have a response. They can answer that objection. And when they persuasively explain that time will not be an issue, now you're stuck. You either have to say, well, I really was just kind of fibbing because I don't want to do it. In that case, they're going to respect you less. You're going to feel yucky about it. Or in order to save face, you've got to take on the thing you really don't want to do. Plus, if you say, I don't have the time, they can say, oh, well, that's okay. We're going to be doing it again in 3 months. I'll circle back with you then. Now you've just kicked the can down the road. Again, I don't think it's productive. So here's a way to do it. And I've been using this for years. I've been teaching it for years. It works across the various media. You say it in person, on the phone, it doesn't matter. It works. Okay. And here's how you do it. Let's say this person asks you to serve on a committee. Okay. It's a nice compliment. They want you to serve on a committee, but you don't want to do it. And for whatever reason, unless it's a life and death type of thing. I mean, the go-giver should not be confused with being self-sacrificial or being a doormat or doing things you don't want to do. For whatever reason, it's not what you want to do. You shouldn't do it unless, again, of course, it's a life and death or something that the importance weighs it. But we're saying in this case, it doesn't. You just don't want to do it. So you simply, once they've asked you to do this thing, you simply say, thank you so much. While it's not something I'd like to do, please know how honored I am to be asked. And that's it. Okay. Now,
so nice.
Yeah, you've honored them. You've let them know you're honored. Okay. You've thanked them. But you did say it's not something you would like to do or choose to do, what have you. And that's it. So what you did is you respected and honored them. You honored your own boundaries. and you did it in a way that they cannot possibly, unless they're just, but 99.9% of the people are just going to not be offended by it. They're just going to, but they're also going to know that you're not going to do the thing, and you didn't give them an excuse that they could hang on to in order to overcome. Now, that said, is there ever a time to provide a reason? Yeah, depending upon the relationship you have with someone and the thing itself. Sometimes you do need to explain quickly why it is, but that's not usually the case. Typically, just doing it exactly as I said. And again, it's very simple. And your language may change a little, but it's typically, oh, thank you, or thank you so much, whatever. While it's not something I'd like to do, please know how very, and you could say honored or grateful, however you want to say, very honored to be asked. Now, 99 times out of 100, that works right there. But if they are not going to want to take no for an answer at first, or if in the past they know that all they have to do is kind of be persistent and stay on you and you'll give in, if they start, oh, but we really, whatever, don't be defensive. Just have a very neutral look, or a kind, loving look, what have you. Don't interrupt them. Once they've finished, you pause and you simply say, oh, I appreciate it. I'd rather not, but thank you so much again. Boom. And if you'll allow yourself to do that, I am telling you, Tiffanie, you will set yourself free.
And I love that. That will save so many people so much time, because that is something I hear all the time. How do I say no? How do I say no? Because everybody's always asking for everything. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important for us, especially entrepreneurs, to protect ourselves, not from a selfish perspective, but we've got to take care of ourselves if we're going to be able to take care of the others in our world.
Yeah. Again, there's nothing self-sacrificial about being a go-giver. It's you want it to be something everybody benefits from, including yourself.
So let's go back to the value. How does someone add value without costing a ton of money, especially in this competitive environment?
Well, if it's a matter of when they ask, and I remember first learning this from Tom Hopkins in his classic how to master the art of selling. He said people will say, do you know anyone who, or who do you know would be? And what happens is you're giving that person such a wide range of people without any way for them to be able to single out people, that they will be thinking of everybody they know, which of course means they can't think of anybody they know. It's like a collage of 300, 250, 300 people go dancing past, and they put pressure on themselves to try to think of someone. And what do they end up saying? Well, I can't think of anybody right now, but when I do, I'll call you or I'll let you know, right? So that's a big mistake. And as Tom teaches so wonderfully, what you want to do is gently funnel down people's worlds into small groups they can see. So if you know that Gary is an avid golfer, and you ask him who he usually golfs with, and he names you three people, Harry Brown, Dr. Mary Ruard, and Michael Cloud. Well, he's just giving you three names. He's mentioned three people. Now you can say, would Harry or Dr. Mary or Michael, do you feel they would be, whatever, however you would ask, depending upon what you do. And maybe it's one of them, maybe none of them, maybe all of them, what have you, but it doesn't matter. You've created the context for him to know he can come up with names. Right. So now you take it to another, he may be a member of some civic club or organization. So again, it's not who within that club, it's, who within that club are you particularly good friends with, maybe sit next to every time, serve on a committee with. Well, now he's able to come up with four names. Now you go. So it's like that. So we want to, when asking for referrals, we want to make sure to make it very easy for that referral source to be able to come up with names.
I love it. I love it. It is all about making it easy. Though sometimes things aren't easy. There's some things that we don't know. Like I live in the referral marketing world. So it's always like, okay, why is it important for us to invest in ourselves, in our mind, in learning things, whether it's the time, the money, the energy, to learn some new skills to help us grow our business? Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, ongoing learning is what separates the leaders from everyone else. There's just no other way to do it, I don't think. I mean, some people maybe intuitively, they just know things, but I'm not one of them. And I've found very few people who are immensely successful who are not constant learners.
Excellent. I love it. Yes. We like to say, learn more to earn more. You got to invest, because there's so much, and there's so much that we can continue to learn. And I know that you have a daily email that comes out that provides a little bit of information. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, it's called the Daily Impact, and it's an email I send out 5 days a week, and it's designed to give you some information and inspiration that you can use throughout the day to kind of get you thinking, and keep you taking that next step.
Awesome. And I will put the link for you to sign up for in the chat box as well as in the video description. So y'all can check that out. I highly encourage you to take advantage of that daily wisdom coming to you inbox without costing you any money. So Bob, is there anything you want to share with the audience here at the More Money, Time and Fun Summit before we wrap up this interview?
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to something a mentor of mine told me almost 40 years ago, and that is, that as you're doing business, to, don't have making money as your target, because your target is serving others. But when you hit the target, you will get a reward. That reward will come in the form of money. But it's important to remember that the money is simply the reward for hitting the target. It's not the target itself. Your target is serving others. And I think when we live our lives and we conduct our business that way, and we approach sales from that premise, now we're really in a position to not only benefit many, many others, but to also create a great living and a great life for ourselves as well.
Well, thank you so very much, Bob, the author of The Go-Giver and many other books, lots of things that he can help you with to help you have more money, more time, and more fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany.